Boop, boop.
And we're live. How's it going, Steve?
It's going good, brother. Happy Monday. How you doing?
Happy Monday. I'm doing good, doing good. This is episode 13, everybody, of the MidLyfe Gaming Podcast with your hosts Archie and Steve over here, and we're just happy to see y'all. What's been going on, Steve? Any life updates? Anything?
Man, lots of stuff going on, but nothing I can talk about.
Ooh,
Yeah,
suspicious, mysterious. All right, well, let's just
mysterious.
get into the news then. Up first, we have a new Battlefield game has been confirmed for holiday of this year, which is a little crazy because we normally would have heard or seen some gameplay by now, something along those lines. But really, it's only been just kind of confirmed. I think this came out just a couple days ago, and they're expecting to have this out in mass by this holiday season. The quick knowns of what we know so far around the holiday this year, they claim this is going to be the, air quotes, largest one yet, which I feel like most devs have, or most devs say. It's currently being worked across 4 different studios over at DICE, and it's confirmed to be next gen and PC, but they have not stated if it's going to be playable on the old Xbox Ones or PS4s. So what modes are you looking for out of this Battlefield, Steve?
Yeah, before I jump into that, I'll say one quick thing. So fans have kind of known, and if you've been watching
Mm-hmm.
the business practices of EA, you've kind of known this was coming. They announced in probably one of their earnings meeting, maybe 1 to 2 years ago, like, hey, we're going to be moving Battlefield and Star Wars to a yearly kind of like
Alternating cycle.
an alternating cycle. So we've kind of known that this was coming. I'm glad they announced it. The big news from this was obviously that they haven't outright come out and announced all the modes, but it sounds like Conquest is probably getting a big, huge upgrade, or they're probably trying to do something similar to the Warzone mode of Call of Duty. I think we're going to get something like that. Maybe not exactly Battle Royale. They do want to differentiate themselves, but um, if you remember, Battlefield was always known for the scale,
Right.
so that's what I'm hoping is that it is just huge scale. There's a real reason to use vehicles, like the helicopters specifically is what I would love to make see come back in a big way, like those actually being fun to fly and shoot with and all that kind of stuff. I really that's the one thing that is missing from the Call of Duty franchise for me. Like the on foot combat feels great, but anytime you're in a vehicle, it's just kind of sloppy still.
Feels
You
clunky,
can't.
feels real like kind of copy and pasted in there.
Yeah, exactly. So that's really what I'm hoping for, man. I'm just hoping that this is either a completely modern or maybe some future tech, installment. I don't want to see anything prior history. I don't want to see any historic antique weaponry. None of
Right.
that. I just want them to go balls to the wall, take advantage of the new hardware, which you kind of alluded to there. I'm not sure if they're going to drop the Xbox and the PS4 support. The only reason why is because it's still so difficult to get a PS5 and the Xbox One Series X. So I don't know if they're taking that into consideration, or they could have been so far in development to where they didn't have the opportunity to go back to Xbox One and
Right.
PS4, because they were anticipating that more people would have jumped over by now. So I really I don't know. EA usually likes to get as much as they can, so maybe they just don't want to talk about it right now, and then last minute they'll talk about it, like as an afterthought.
Right.
Yeah, it's there. It's just it doesn't have the big features of the multiplayer because that's really what's going to happen. We saw that in the prior generation with the transition from the the Xbox 360 and the PS3 era.
Mm-hmm.
As it came over, you had those games that kind of fell in the middle of that, and like you want to play it on the new system because the old system is going to be lacking features, content, or textures and shit like that. So,
Right.
um, but yeah, this is probably one of the best news articles I've seen in a while that actually got me excited. Just because
Yeah. Oh
I'm ready
yeah.
for these guys to come back. The last 2 outings from them, they were good in terms of polish and features and all that, but I really think they were held back by the time period. So
Yeah, the time period did feel a little weird of a decision. Like I know that around that same time the internet was all about, oh, let's get back to the Call of Duty World at War era and all that stuff. But I don't know, maybe it was just like one of those marketing decisions. They're like, hey, you know what? People are getting a little tired of this modern warfare stuff. Let's take it back a couple of years, a couple of confrontations and see how it does. And I mean, Battlefield 1 did do pretty great at launch from what I can remember. I think for the whole, current gen versus next gen, and I also think it's funny that we're still using the term next gen for something that is actively
Current.
already sold
Yeah.
and current, but it makes sense because like you said, not a whole lot of people are getting their hands on these just yet. My wife and I were extremely lucky to get our Xbox Series X. We waited on like at midnight on the Microsoft website. We got beat out by bots, and then luckily there was a refresh like a week later, and it was at some random time in the middle of the day, and we managed to pick one up. But I think that they can handle the transition a little bit better this time than in the 360 versus Xbox One, like that gen switch from last time. I think they can handle it better this time because we have the architecture on both PlayStation and Microsoft's side where you can install parts of a game. Now I know one of the rumors for this next Battlefield is supposed to be like one of the rumored modes is supposed to be like a 64, like something outrageous, like 64 versus 64, big maps, fights. And I don't have faith that the network card on the PS4 can handle that. I'm not even sure original Xbox Ones could handle that. So I think that they could easily set it up in such a way that they're like, hey, here's single player campaign, everybody gets this. Here's multiplayer, but even the multiplayer is split. You have multiplayer everybody, and you have multiplayer next gen. And the next gen multiplayer is where you keep those 64 v64 map types, the really large, big scaled battles that they're going for. And you keep like the normal, like what is whenever we played Hardline, what were the team sizes? Like 18 or something? It was like four
I want to
teams of
say it
four.
was. I want to say it was 32 and 32 to be honest.
Maybe
Like
it was
I don't
32
know
and
why
32.
I have that number in my head for some reason. I could be wrong, but um, that seems about right when I'm thinking about how big the player list was. It could have been smaller though. I really honestly don't know, but yeah, I'm with you on this.
We're getting a lot of talk about our hats in chat. I do like your hat, Steve.
Thank you, thank you.
uh, so yeah, I think they can definitely set themselves up for success as long as they do it appropriately. Because even now, the PS5 I think just got an update where they allow partial installation or backups on an external drive, and they intentionally built it in such a way that you can do it in modes like or like game types for multiplayer games that support it. I think most people know that the current Call of Duty is handled this way just because it's so heavily advertised up front. It's like, all right, you installed the base game. Do you want to install multiplayer? Do you want to install single player, like in addition to the base game? So I think that's probably a good way to transition to it. And I'm with you. I don't want to see a historical one, and I don't think Battlefield's really gone super sci-fi since what Battlefield like 2082 or something like that. Some like whatever the year
Yeah,
one
it's
was.
2142 was
2142.
def yeah, that was the last
I think that,
sci-fi one, and really the only sci-fi one.
yeah.
And then the last modern day one was Heartline,
Hmm.
but the last mainstream one would have been Battlefield 4.
Right.
So,
And that was
which
definitely a
is
modern
on
era.
sale, I think, for like $10 right now. So I actually
Yeah.
was considering picking that up, but I don't know. I feel like I remember buying that once before. And I was like, oh, the textures just did not hold up well enough. But I'm sure the gameplay is great. Like that would I remember that game just feeling so great to play. Like
Yeah, it felt so smooth, especially that first time you hopped in a jet and you're just like flying across the entire war zone. It's great. It feels like a completely different multiplayer experience compared to Call of Duty. Like, there's definitely the people that want to pit everything against everything else. But honestly, in my opinion, Call of Duty has its place, Battlefield has its place, and they don't have to be direct competitors. You can enjoy the both of them for what each of them provide. Uh, but that said, I'm with you. I was really excited to see this news because we announced it last episode, maybe the episode before last, where someone had leaked, air quotes, leaked something out. and their response on Twitter was spaghetti. Like it was a big graphic in their normal Battlefield font, and it was just titled spaghetti. That was their only response. So I don't know. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, me as well.
What weird things do you think they can add in this to liven it up, or what weird stuff do you want them to add that you know for a fact they're never going to add into a Battlefield game?
I really do like. I don't want weird stuff. What I would like if they brought back some of the things that have been left out of the most recent installments, like
Mm-hmm.
Commander Mode was something that was in three, but
Yep.
was missing from pretty much every game since then. There's some technical things that they changed since like three that I didn't really like. Like you used to be able to talk with anyone on your team at any
Mm-hmm.
point, and then you had a separation between team chat and your squadron, like your squad chat, which I like
Right.
because if you're doing these large scale battles, like that's one of the things that would definitely separate it from Call of Duty too. Like it's not just your three people going out there to try to, Rambo any match that you get into. You can actually have communication with your team, and maybe you have that commander who's looking over the entire map, like, hey, you guys keep running to this waypoint that you're dying at. Go to this instead, because there's been a lot of games where I remember back in Battlefield Day, that was what it took. You had to have somebody who would be like, yo, you guys are just wasting points. Let's go
Yeah,
think
let's move
about
this
this
way.
methodically. Yeah, so I would like to see
Did
I would like
4
to see
not
that
have
type of
commander
gameplay.
mode?
I don't remember if 4 did, but I know they definitely did away with the team and the
Right.
squad chat because I remember that really ticked me off at the time, and it
Right.
just has never come back since then. Um, I would like to see that. Um, I would like for them to have some type of like they do have to do some things like Call of Duty, unfortunately, just because the industry has changed and people expect some of that stuff, like the cosmetics and all that. Like if you're gonna do it, maybe not so crazy. Like maybe they do something cooler with theirs. I would
Mm-hmm.
like to see that. And really, honestly, like I said, I'm open to whatever they're gonna put out with this one. I usually would have a lot more expectations, but because it's been so long since they've done one, like I mean, really, the Battlefield 4 was not a Xbox One title. That was a 360 title, right? And it just had a crossover release for the Xbox One, if
The
I'm correct.
4,
Har
I think 4 was an Xbox One
was it
release.
X? I feel like they came on 362. I know Heartline
It's
definitely was a
possible, yeah,
Xbox
because I
One.
know that I jumped into 4 a little late in the game.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a 360 title. So
Yeah, okay.
they skipped a whole generation with doing like a modern Battlefield take. They spent the whole last generation doing these historic games. So hopefully they learned a lot of lessons from that. They come into this, they've got a lot more power they can work with. That's what I want to see. I just want to see them utilize the power of PCs and the new generation of the consoles. That's just what I want to see.
Yep.
I don't really have any hopes for game modes. As long as there's conquest, I'll be happy. I just
Yeah,
want that
Conquest is
big,
good.
wide, hectic. And it sounds like, I mean, if you played, I don't know how deep you got into Battlefront 2, but like that is a lot of how I feel like the next Battlefield needs to play. Like you need to be able to hop into any vehicle you see. You need
Mm-hmm.
to have these battles that are taking place both on the ground and in the air, and shit's just blowing up around you all the time. Like make it live up to the title of Battlefield.
Yeah, make it live up to the title. I definitely want to see them bring back more of that environmental destruction chaos, because I feel
Oh
like
yeah,
four really had a lot of that, and it made each round feel unique and different. Like you could play on the same map 4 or 5 different times back to back, but you never knew if one of the maps, the central tower, was going to come down, or if this entire side of the map was about to get wiped out because a dam exploded.
yeah,
It's like those little tiny bits of chaos that help make each round feel different. So I hope that they bring that back, because I know in Hardline there was not a lot of environmental destruction, and I think in Battlefield 1 there is, but it's not nearly to the same type of scale uh, as 4 was. At least not in my opinion. I don't know if there's science to back that up or not, but in my opinion, it's not nearly as good as it was in 4.
mm.
All right, so let's unless you have anything else, let's move along to the next item. Do 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 do. So Jeff Kaplan leaves Blizzard. Now, I told you this story earlier today, and you said you didn't care much for Blizzard. So let's start there.
I mean, I'll keep it high level, man. There was a time where Blizzard was synonymous with PC gaming. You
Hmm.
know, StarCraft, World of Warcraft, the Warcraft series itself, they were synonymous with it, and they pretty much they led the industry. They've just now, I feel like they've fallen prey to this model that a lot of other developers have, to where they're just relying on one big title to keep them alive with the
Right.
microtransactions, and they don't really care about anything else. You know, like even when they, I forgot the name of the title already because it just went in one ear and out the other. But when they announced that game for the phone, what was that? Um,
Oh, the Diablo Legends or something like that.
yeah, exactly. Like that just shows you how disconnected they are with their audience. You are a PC gaming company and
Hmm.
you're promoting a mobile game where they could have easily made that a title for the PC. A lot of people who play like RTSs, like Dota, I say RTSs, but MOBAs, RTS like StarCraft. You know,
Right.
you call them your loading games. You just put it on your second screen while your main game's loading, and you
Right.
play that. That just shows you how disconnected they are. They even come up with the notion of putting it on mobile first. But anyway, I haven't they have nothing in the repertoire that caters to me any longer. Like the
Right.
only reason I have the Blizzard launcher even installed is because of Call of Duty. After they lost Destiny, you know, and I'll
Hmm.
for all intents and purposes here, I'll call Blizzard Activision 1 and 1. But after they lost Destiny, that was like, okay, there's no real reason for me to be over there. They just don't have anything that appeals to me. Overwatch, it was fun probably for the first couple of months of after release when I was playing with you guys and we were very heavy into it. But
Right.
me not being a competitive PvE player, like there's really just not a lot over there for me. I did like HOTS for a while. I was pretty into that. But that was because it was much more PvE focused than it was PvP. Like, yeah, you were going against other teams, but you were really working cooperatively in a lot stronger degree together. So,
Right.
yeah. As for this news, Jeff Kaplan leaving, I'm like, okay,
Yeah, I'm like okay, and I like the projects that Jeff has worked on. So for those who don't know, he was working to on sorry, can't talk. He worked for the Warcraft 3 project, the initial World of Warcraft project, WoW's Burning Crusade expansion, as well as the Wrath of the Lich King expansion. But really, I mean, most even today, modern Blizzard, aficionados will tell you that Wrath of the Lich King was probably the last good expansion for World of Warcraft. I don't know too many people that are still playing it to this day that are happy. Like they keep playing it because it's like, oh, it's this thing that they've already invested so many hundreds of hours into. Why would they stop now? And I think that's kind of what the new Activision Blizzard is is banking on. Like you said, here's this one thing, we're gonna keep providing updates for it, keep basically giving it a lifeline to keep moving forward. And good luck. Here it is. Have fun with it. If you don't, whatever. I guess leave. Find one of our other games. But really it was around that time that Blizzard got bought out by Activision, is whenever their entire culture decided to change. And there have been numerous stories that even who was it that we talked about that last episode? Jason
Schreier.
yeah, Jason Schreier, who finds all of these background stories. He was one of the people that led the whole initiative against Blizzard for their handling of the whole Hong Kong controversy, like tournament controversy thing. This whole corporate culture that they have, like we've found out several times before, that corporate culture is just a mask for what they want you to do. But a lot of their people believed in it, and then they go and show their ass like they did, and it didn't pay out for them, and now they're trying to backpedal a little bit. And that happened only what, a year ago, the whole Hong Kong situation. I think it was probably about maybe a little over a year ago. And
Yeah,
Jeff Kaplan seems like a nice dude. I've never met him in person, but everybody that he's worked with, normally by now, he's done almost 20 years in the industry. By now, a person of his caliber has at least a handful of terrible stories against him, and you can't find any on him. At least not that I was able to find. So that tells me that he's at least to some degree a decent person. So I imagine that if we're to draw connections, that his departure from Blizzard, he didn't say he was retiring. He didn't say that he was leaving one team of Blizzard to go to another. He said he is done with Blizzard. So to me, that kind of speaks a little bit to the fact that he's not happy with what it's turned into and he's just done with it. This is all during the development of his current, well, not anymore, but at the time, current project, which was Overwatch 2, which was getting some pretty good responses. It was a little bit mixed, but for the most part, it was slightly more on the positive side. So I don't know if this is like, is this a sign of like bad leadership, like it normally is when someone departs in the middle of development? I don't know. What's your take on that part? Like a dude of this caliber leaving a studio of this caliber.
I was really hoping you weren't going to make me talk about them anymore. um, um, honestly, like I just feel like there's definitely a world where he's leaving to kind of something like, most developmental people are creative folks. They don't really like to sit still for too long. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe the fact that he's been working on Overwatch for close to probably, it's got to be what? I mean, that was the Xbox One,
Yeah.
launch title, but out a couple of months after. So
Yep.
the system itself is 6 years old. Am I right?
I think so.
So the game itself has to probably be that, and then they immediately move him into development for Overwatch 2, and even being in person in leadership, like, that's still a repetitive task, like, "Oh, okay, it's the same game, there's a little bit of stuff that we could do," but ultimately, you really don't have that much freedom, and, yeah, you can add story in, but I'm sure your bosses are telling you, like, "Hey, spend less time on that, spend more time on what's gonna make us money," which is the microtransaction bullshit,
Right.
like, yeah, I mean, there's a world where that could be it, but also I looked he's been there 18 years, he probably has some stock options, like, I wouldn't be surprised, like, all of my stocks went up in the past year, so I'm sure his went up like crazy too. I'd be amazed to see what Blizzard's was actually in the past year, but anyway, 18 years is a long time. He might just be like, "Hey, it's 18 years, I'm ready to go do something else. I wanna start my own studio so I don't even have to have do what I want." Like, we see that a lot in the games industry. These veterans, you would think that they would just go count their millions somewhere, but no,
Right.
they go off and they do like little small indie titles. And it's weird for me because I feel like I would always want to do big AAA productions, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe once you've actually gone through that task and if you see how much work it is to get something like that over the finish line, the hot starts where you start something up and then nope, it's dead. Go say Star Trek, StarCraft Ghost is a perfect example. Like, people really passionate about something, and no, sorry, we're not doing that. So maybe it's just that. I really don't know. Like the Hong Kong situation was kind of shitty.
Mm-hmm.
I've recently dealt with some similar shit like that myself with professional things, so I can understand, where companies sometimes it's difficult for them to make a stance on something because they can't offend, XYZ, and sometimes that ends up with ABC being offended instead.
Right.
So that sucks, but I don't know. I can't really like I think we could read into this and speculate all day. Hopefully at some point he'll come out himself and say what he wants. If not, I'm sure Jason Schreier will have something written up about it within a
In
few
next
weeks.
couple of
But
weeks.
yeah, but good luck to the guy. Like you said, I don't really remember much about him. I remember some of the development.
Oh, I lost you.
So,
There you go. You're back now.
yep. Yeah. So I was saying he seems like a nice enough guy. So good luck to him wherever he goes.
Yep, I do wish him good luck because he has brought a lot of good gaming hours to a lot of people. So, all right, let's move on to the next disappointment. We
Oh
got
man,
CD Project Red.
let's not give these jerks too much time.
No, yeah, let's not. So report came out by Kotaku, the one that's on the screen right now. Uh, they claim that CD Projekt Red refunded only 30,000 copies of Cyberpunk 2077. Uh, Hi, Mr. BP. I didn't see that you said, hey, what's going on? Welcome back. So back to the story. CD Projekt Red refunded only 30,000 copies of Cyberpunk 2077. And this does not include Xbox and PlayStation Network storefronts refunded. So this only accounted for about 0.2% of their reported copies sold. Uh, does that number seem way too low to you?
Um, no, to be honest. 1 second, I'm doing some quick math here. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. So 1.8 million of sales. So that's still a big number. Nowhere near, like you said, it's a small number in comparison to how much they still made. Like this, it really doesn't say much. Like that number is arbitrary to me. Like no matter what the refund number is, the
Hmm.
damage was done. The game
Right.
came out. It was worthy of being refunded. They absolutely, Sony did the right thing with pulling it off the market. I think, like, no, you guys, but they hoodwinked us because they have to go through a whole certification process to even
Right.
get a game on to the console. So there had to be some fishy business there to where they sent over a build and they just hoped that Sony got through it in time to where both platforms got through their testing before the crazy shit started happening. Because I mean, I shared a text message with you guys earlier this week. It has been 4 months since I can play I can play the game.
Your
I
save
could
file.
play it, yeah, I could play it, I could restart it, but honestly, having put whatever it was 15, 20 hours into a save file and then it being completely rendered useless, like that is a shitty situation. Like not everyone has the free time to start over.
Right.
For me, it's not about the time, it's just, you make so many small decisions. I'm like, man, I don't want to go back through that whole process again. So I've just been every time they put an update out, I go to this one forum thread that they have regarding the issue I have, and I say, "Hey, has this been fixed yet? Because there's 100 other people there with the same exact issue." And they're like, "Nope." And I say, "Okay, I'll come back next patch." And that's what I've been doing since literally
Just keep
December.
on repeating it.
Yeah, but this number, like, it really doesn't mean much. Like, there's still, I think the bigger story is just how many people were disappointed with it. I don't even know if the Steam reviews have bounced back, to be completely honest. I haven't checked in a while. I
Yeah, me
would guess
neither.
that they're probably are still mixed, but yeah, this was just I saw something else, not in this article, but CDPR had put out a statement earlier last week saying that they learned a lot from this incident. I'm like,
I bet you did.
yeah, like of course you did, but the only thing they really learned though, if this is, you take a 30,000 from PC. I don't know which if the consoles would have sold better or the PC would have sold better. Honestly, I really
Hmm.
don't know, but you could probably guess high estimate 100 to 300,000 copies refunded, maybe a
Right.
high estimate at that. And yeah, they sold millions, so it's not, I don't know if it's big enough to actually change their business practice, but hopefully the feedback was enough for them to be like, "Yeah, we can't do this anymore." Like, because this will severely impact their ability to sell their next game, I'm sure. Like, whatever their next big thing is that they put out, this will impact. People will
Oh
say,
yeah.
maybe not the total sales, but definitely pre-orders. People like, "Yeah, you burned me once." Like, I'll wait.
Yeah. So how do you think they come back from this then? Because I think that this has while I personally have not had too many buggy experiences with it, shortly after you told us that you hit a point that you couldn't move past because of a bug, I have kind of been hesitant to even go back to that save file and play it. It's still installed because I have the space for it, but I don't know how much longer that's going to be the case. So I don't know what they do to kind of redeem themselves from this massacre against their own brand.
Yeah, they got a couple things. So the cheap thing they could do would be holy shit, hit the holy shit button and hurry up and finish up Cyberpunk. Fuck the multiplayer. Like just cut your
Yeah.
losses. This is what the game is. We'll put out some patches to try to fix it. Maybe one big DLC, like love you guys. We're out type thing, and they need to work on Witcher. Like Witcher's the one thing that if they can just do that, polish it up, make sure that it's correct, do the off story, based off the ending of The Witcher, go forward with that.
Hmm.
There's a perfect starting point for them. Most people would be fine. I think people would instantly forget about this. Like it would be a failed experiment, is what they could, they should just be transparent. Like, is if you remember, ever since I saw that first video when they fucking showed off the first player view, I said this isn't going to turn out well for them because it wasn't in their DNA. You can't
Right.
move from being a third person action adventure studio, RPG, whatever you want to call it, to being a first person studio. It just doesn't work. Like all those things that you think about, like that you learn from Witcher, all that experience goes out the roof, like or
Yeah.
through the window. Like, yeah, you have the technical know how, but you're doing everything completely different now, like your animations, all of that, and it showed in the final product, in my opinion. Like that it didn't even feel like the same company made those 2 games. Does not at all. Like you cannot. I don't. You correct me if I'm wrong, but do you feel the DNA of CDPR between those 2? Like it, I don't feel it at all.
I feel it in the complexity of like the subsystems. Like the skill tree was really there for me, But in terms of gameplay itself, like actual movement and running around, it did not feel nearly as smooth or as well thought out as Witcher 3 did.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. It may not seem like such a large change to go from a first person or from a third person perspective to a third person perspective, but uh, it really is, even down to a technical stance on it. It's very much a different set of rules you have to follow in order to make sure that your player feels comfortable in that HUD, that interface, that perspective of your world that you're building on. uh I think it was a mistake to go to the first person route, even though, I mean, it's a game with guns. It's hard to do that in third person, but Gears of War does it all the time, and
Oh, yeah.
they do it pretty dang smoothly. So I think if they had just stuck to their guns and made it third person instead of worrying about all the first person aspects of it, because that's got to be a huge impact to their development cycle, was alternating to that first person look.
Oh,
and
yeah,
and
absolutely.
and looking back, it absolutely was a marketing scheme to get Keanu Reeves involved in the game. I
Well, they didn't even get him until much later though, right?
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like they knew they were going to have, this lump of turd going out there, and they're like, oh dang, how do we get the news cycles back on our side, or on our side first, and increase the hype, because we're gonna need it, because initial sale, like if you look back throughout the entire process, you can absolutely see these intentional steps that were made to help mitigate the initial launch. And I don't know how they come back from it. I slightly disagree with the they just need to focus on Witcher stance, because they need to figure out what they screwed up on this. They need to. I know they've come out with the article saying, "Oh, we learned a lot," but prove it. Put it in. Take what you've learned and put it into the final product that you've made. What, I have it down here, $560 million in profit in 2020. Which, mind you, this was their only title. I think The Witcher 3 went on sale a couple times for the Switch, maybe in 2020. I don't remember, but yeah, they absolutely need to correct this ship first, and then start focusing on the next Witcher title. Which, is that even confirmed yet, or
No.
no? Okay. I mean, obviously, with the whole Netflix thing, there's going to be another Witcher series, even if it's like a prequel or something along those lines. But yeah, they have to get this situated, or else they're going to lose a good chunk of their player base. There's a lot of people that felt alienated by it, and their decision to stay on old hardware did not did not help them out at all. I would have much rather them have, withheld it until, like, even if it launched today, it would be so much of a better product than if them trying to just get nickels and dimes out of older hardware. Which is where a lot of the complaints came from too, mind you, was the fact that it looks like absolute dog turd on the original Xbox One and PS4s. It just doesn't play well at all. It's like there's half the polygons missing. Ugh, I don't really have anything else left to say about this, other than I'm disappointed severely.
Me either, brother. Me either.
All right, let's move on to the next one. If you're watching this later, comment how much you hate CDPR and what they can do to fix it for you. Have fun. We'll read it. I'll respond. I promise. All right. So next up is Elite Dangerous Odyssey gets its launch date for May 19th. Why don't you take this one, Steve?
Yippee. That was Yeah, so you and me, we've actually played a little bit recently,
Mm-hmm.
had some fun out there together. The next expansion of Elite Dangerous is the Odyssey expansion. What's coming in this expansion is that you, for the first time, will be able to get out of your ship, be on foot. So, really bringing a new level of action adventure gameplay to the game. Whereas right now, you do have combat, but it's all isolated to your ship. and then most of like the cargo and transportation missions happen, pretty much with just a text notification, no real animations or anything, anything like that. But now we have this on foot combat. And I say combat, I really should. I should just say on foot exploration because you can really do anything now. So
Right.
um, I've been in the alpha. I do this thing though where I don't really like to spend too much time in alphas and betas of products because you end up playing a lot of the same content you're going to play in the game when it comes to like it's good to just get a head start on learning some systems, but I just don't want to spend too much time in it. But yeah, this is a highly anticipated update. I personally, if you're on our Discord channel, I've been talking on there a lot with members and such. And I really think that with this release, Odyssey, or I'm sorry, ED, has taken a big step over Star Citizen, honestly. The only thing that Star Citizen has really held over Elite Dangerous all this time has been that they've had the on-foot exploration stuff
Mhm.
already into the game. And, there's a big argument that could be made regarding, like, fidelity and detail and thing, but I think in terms of, like, actual gameplay, if you want to have a game that you can play all the time, Elite's the one to go for right now. Like, Star Citizen is cool to back, get in there early, get some of the back rewards, whatever, hang out until whenever that actually is in a fully playable state. But I would, if people ask me, like, "Hey, I've got $100, where should I spend it at?" I'm gonna say with Elite, like, just go with Elite. You will have a much better experience, especially after this update. Yeah, it's cool, man. Like, when we were talking about Battlefield earlier, that's one of the things that Elite does pretty well. Like, you are never in these instances. You're always I mean, you are just because, like, the way networking works, but
Right.
Eh but the way the world is, like, it's completely open, like, you can have these, fights, you and me were in a couple where there's ships everywhere, all around you, you've got the police or the security force coming in, like so now to bring that down to the ground level, and we've seen this in some of the gameplay trailers and all that, where your team, they could back you up in a ship, they could back you up on foot, like, it's just open, it's you do what you want, here's the playground, you go out and do it, so I'm really excited for this.
So what do you just in the short amount of time that you've been playing that alpha, what should current players prepare for? Like how can they prepare in current game to help them when they get to Odyssey?
Yeah, I would say so. There's a whole bunch of new materials that you have to collect for engineering of your, right now in the game you engineer your ship,
Mhm.
your ship parts. Now with the Odyssey update, you're going to be able to engineer your suits and your weapons and things like that. And the materials are not the same that you use to engineer your ships. So
Okay.
there's really not much that players can do to get a head start on Odyssey. The one thing I guess I would say, like, if you're outside the bubble, so if you think about the galaxy, the bubble is the inhabited Earth space where people actually live, and then you've got the far distant interstellar ship that a lot of people don't travel to, or they travel through but don't live there, whatever the
Mhm.
case is. I would say get back to the bubble because I'm sure there's probably going to be a lot of action happening there. It'll probably be easier to do a lot of the activities there as well. I would say get a ship that is a good transporter, for you and some friends. You can do wings and all that. But the way I've seen it, a lot of the gameplay has been like, okay, one person bring in their souped up ship, they're dropping
Right.
everybody in quickly. They're providing air support if needed. If all hell breaks loose, they can come down and, still fire weapons on people on the ground and stuff. So I would say get a good ship like that, like one of those cool bounty hunting type ships where you could just jump in and do what you need. But
Something with
other
a
than
lot
that,
of
man,
speed to it.
yeah, that's personally what I would think. Like, I don't think you need the big. At least they haven't showed it yet. They haven't shown any need for like cargo and stuff yet. Like
Mhm.
a lot of the stuff has been, hey, you're going to this place to do like stealthy shit, or you're going in here.
Right.
You have diplomacy with these people already, so you're going in just to recover some documents and bring them back. So it's a I really the way I like to describe Elite is really like a living game, like, it's like a second life type experience to me, like, it has the gaming mechanics, but really and, I don't know how you feel about it yet, but you really are role playing as, just the space guy, you're in
Oh yeah.
space, okay, how am I gonna make my money? Okay, what am I gonna do today? Like, you don't have any narrative with somebody telling you, "Hey, you gotta go complete this," or "You gotta go do that," like, you can ignore all the lore stuff if you want to that's going on with, like, the galactic news and all that kinda shit, or you can be completely deep into it and really be the space guy, like, "Oh, man, all hell is breaking loose out in this system, they're asking for pods to come and bring these reinforcements. I'm gonna go help them out. They really do a good job of letting you be as deeply immersed in it as you want, or just load it up, go out and pew pew, and go back home. So, but yeah, it just really adds another layer. I think, I don't really know what I'm gonna spend my time doing because I've so far in the alpha, I've done the more of the combat related stuff where it's like, "Hey, go to this location, wipe out all these bad guys." There's some of the stealthy stuff where it's like, "Hey, you gotta go in and, espionage and destroy this, or you've got to recover these secret documents." And then there's this other branch where it really is, it's kinda has parallels to the main game where
Hmm.
they do have that, they do have, like, just the basic exploration biology type stuff, like now, like, okay, you're sending your commander out to collect these bio samples and things, so I think there's something there for everybody, and really, I have I have over 2,000 hours in this game, I'm sure, and I would say probably half of those have been just, like, randomly jumping around, taking screenshots and all that kinda stuff,
It
so
is a beautiful
it's
game. Yeah.
yeah, man, like, it's fun. It's one of my favorites, but I take big breaks from this one. Like, this is one that I play in phases. I'll be hard on for a couple months, and then I'll
Hmm.
take some breaks. They'll do a good update. I'll come back to it for a couple more weeks. So for me, it's perfect.
Do you do you think that this system that they're putting in place where you can go on foot on planets is going to translate into being able to go on foot on bases, like in the
So
space area bases?
yeah, so you actually you can go onto foot on the so if you think like I think you've done a couple planetary landings now.
Hmm.
Like those places, you can go on foot already. Like that's where most of the missions are taking place are at those places.
Hmm.
And then back home and the starports, you have a community area. So it's like, oh, here's some over here. There's a taxi company, so you can take a taxi to the POIs that you want to go to. There's this kind of it's kind of like a mercenary sign up. So you go to the booth like, hey, I want to fight for, this group. Okay, we'll take you there. And they drop you in the battlefield for what you see on screen, that 24 player deathmatch type thing. So they have expanded on that. The thing that people is the walking around of ships.
Hmm.
And for whatever reason, it didn't make this update. They said they're looking into it. My guess is that so it's kind of hard to get the scale. You see it a lot better in VR. So you played in VR, so now you probably can tell the big difference between that. Like when you look at the 2D monitor, your ship doesn't really look that big. It's like, oh, okay,
Right.
whatever. You've got your little pit. But when you play in VR, you're like, holy
Oh
shit, like,
yeah,
wow,
it's significantly bigger.
yeah, and then, you look out at the star, that you jumped into, and you're like, "Whoa, that's huge." The scale doesn't come across very well in the 2D game,
Hmm.
so I think that's what they're working on. I think there's something about, like, the way the ships are modeled or something. Like, even this anaconda that's behind this guy back here, like,
Hmm.
it's huge, so when you think about that, like, they have to model that entire interior, at least, like, one major hallway that goes from the
Right.
pilot seat all the way to the exit, they would have to model for it to be realistic. The cockpit seemed modeled already though, so I don't know what the big deal is there. Even if they have something to where, hey, you walk out into you walk out from your cockpit, there's a door. When you come back from the fighter ship, how you're coming up that ramp that
Right.
moves back into the ship, maybe you just move right back into that, and then right there, there's a door, and that explains like it. Then all you have to do is model all that. So I don't
Right.
know. Maybe it's a limitation somewhere there. I'm really not sure, but that would be the next big thing that people want is the modeling of the interiors for the ship.
I'd imagine it would have something to do with the skybox situation in there, because in the cockpit area, you are at least locked down to like one of a couple different lines of sight. So they really only have to worry about rendering the universe in front of you like a little bit. But if they released it to some of these ships, they have giant window bays on the side. So, or at least some type of observation bays off the side of the ships or on the top sides and different areas. So it might just be trying to figure out how to handle that part. I don't really know. I'm just pulling stuff out of my butt
Yeah.
here. But
Yeah, if I had to guess, I would just think that they don't have the time to model it correctly. Like
mhm,
I don't think it's a resource issue. I think it's a oh man. Like that's where they would definitely get direct comparisons between Star Citizen. Like they have a little bit of an advantage right now just because it's so like everything works. There aren't a lot of crashes. Like I actually don't remember the last time I had it at least. But
yeah.
they hold that above them, and then their planetary tech actually, I would say, is just on par with Star Citizen, if not better in some places. Like when you're flying through space and you're looking at a plane, you're like, "Wow, that shit looks amazing." I think it is about the development of the interiors. Like again, a ship as big as the Anaconda will require a lot of interior modeling for it to really be done correctly.
Right. Cuz it is a giant ship. So,
Yeah. Yeah, like, I'm not a professional developer or anything, but just our team, we did that was we're 2 months in and it's still being worked on, like, we just happen to have a open development process, but the model itself is still being worked on. So I can only imagine them doing that times the, what, 40 plus ships they're in the game? Jesus.
Yeah, it's that would definitely be a tall order when you're already kind of venturing into a new territory with your dev team of being on foot with missions and combat and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, hey, we're gonna be playing this, so you get ready.
Oh,
Um,
I'll be ready.
yeah. We have to talk about this again later in the show, so I'll get some specific information out of you.
All right, cool. So that's all for the news. Let's move on to the radar. What is on our radar? I'll go first. Here's this dumb little game that I found that came out not that long ago, and it is on Game Pass and on Game Pass PC. So it's on both Xbox and PC Game Pass, as well as Steam, obviously, because that's what we're looking at right now. But it's called Rain on Your Parade, and you just play as this like poorly uh drawn cloud, and you're just ruining people's day. That's all it is. You get different abilities as you play these different little like puzzles. It's very much, have you played what is it called, Let's Move In or Let's Move On or something like that, where you play as just a bunch
Uh,
of like house
Movers.
movers?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
forgot the name of it though.
yeah, it's very similar to that style. um I don't know. It looks like a fun time. I'm about to hit finals in the next week or two, and I probably won't have much time for large games. So something like this, where I can just pick it up, play a level or two, and then just
Yeah.
drop it, is probably going to be more in my wheelhouse.
Yeah. No, this looks I think this is correct for that. It looks like a perfect just a little scratcher or an itch like what I was saying earlier, like those
Hmm.
second monitor games where you're doing something else extensive, but you just need something to kind of click around in, take your mind off of it, or while something's loading. I think this is perfect. Yeah, it
Yep.
looks cool.
There's different levels that have different challenges outside of what the actual level challenge is. So it has a little bit of replayability in that aspect. And there's definitely a lot of like weird scenarios they put you in. I didn't even see this. You can draw your own face on the cloud. So if you're a streamer or something, you just put your own little like flare on that and just play around with it. I don't know, it looks fun. I'll play it. I'll play it because I won't have time to play anything else. And it looks fun
Yeah.
enough to do that with.
Mm, okay.
All right. And then let's move on to your pick for the week.
Yeah,
Days Gone.
mine isn't anything spectacular. Obviously, this game came out for PS4 quite a bit of time ago. They really put oh, okay, it does say 2021. Sorry, there was a little glitch. I thought it said 2001. But yeah, so this came out for PS4. Kind of infamously, it's been in the news recently because the game's director has been complaining that he wanted a sequel really badly, but Sony basically told him no because the game didn't sell well enough in its initial release period. He made a comment that was very divisive, saying that gamers really want sequels to their games, that they should buy them. They should just basically buy them at release. And some people took that to mean like, oh, so they should just pre-order without even worrying about the reception. He's like, no, if you think that there's enough of an idea there that you want to see the franchise continue, you should buy it when it's full price, not buy it a year later when it's in the discount bin because
Right.
Sony at that point isn't going to care, which is it's a valid argument, but it also there's a balance there between the consumers and the developers, and it sucks that the publishers put them in this position to where it kind of has to be like that. Like, there's cult movies, for instance, that don't have that huge popularity up front,
Mm-hmm.
but somewhere along the future, like people are like, oh, that did really well. Let's go ahead and make a sequel to that. And it's unfortunate that the same thing doesn't really happen for games that much. You see a lot of reboots of like classic IPs, but that's because they're cheap. Something like this Sony owns it, but they look at this as like, "Oh, man, it's a big AAA title. Will they wanna take another risk for and not get the number of sales that they need?" Like, it was probably profitable, it just wasn't as profitable as they want. They'll weigh it out as, "Oh, well, we could have just last for us in this time period, or we could have done another instead of a new IP," and
Right.
that's the unfortunate thing. But, yeah, long story short, though, I didn't play this on consoles because I was waiting to get a PS5, but now this is coming to PC. PC will be better than a PS5 anyway, so I'll just play it now.
Yeah, and I think one of the ways to combat that developers can combat that whole, hesitant to buy thing is because the age of the demos has all but died out on AAA titles. Like, and now there's like, oh, it's the alpha or it's the beta for the game, and you can play a couple of hours for that. But those are just marketing events now. They're not even full blown. They're not taking any. No game has taken feedback from an alpha and been like, oh yeah, let's do this. Let's take their words into consideration. At least not in recent years. It's definitely turned into more of a marketing thing. But I think that you would absolutely see a relationship between upfront sales or even pre-order sales if you actually put out meaningful demos for your games. I remember back in the day for PS1 titles, you would get some of those from Pizza Hut. So it's definitely one of those things that I think needs a return. And I think we are kind of starting to see it because the new Resident Evil has a demo coming out, and they're advertising it as such, a demo, not, oh, here's this technical test that we're doing or whatever. I don't know. Just my little blurb on it, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
why don't you tell me about what you
But
played last week?
So really, I mean, always playing flight sim, working on some stuff there with development. So I'm doing a lot of testing and a lot of flying of crap. Mostly though, last week was dedicated to Elite Dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
So you and me played a little bit. I hope that was fun and enlightening. One of the things that you and me
Absolutely.
had talked about was the engineering of parts. And on my ship, I previously had, I had a few lasers and I decided to revamp a lot of stuff, so I went on a engineering run, which is basically just going to these crash ship sites, collecting a bunch of the rare materials, bringing those back to the brokers, and trading out, doing all that engineering stuff. So that's really what I've been doing. I'll probably be doing that for the next few weeks. I just want to get my ship build correct before what I got probably 2 or 3 weeks before the new Odyssey update comes.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I was saying earlier, I just want to get my ship ready for all of that.
Yep. And same here. Most of my game time was spent on Elite Dangerous. And you had shown me some of the ropes on like different equipment for your ship and the engineering stuff, and kind of really opened up what was possible, because it can be a little daunting at first, but after you walked me through it, I was like, oh yeah, let's go. And then I finally got my new ship. I haven't taken my new ship anywhere because I'm afraid it's going to get blown up.
Oh
Because
my god.
as I flew into this last dock that I'm currently sitting inside of, someone was scanned me like 3 times on the way in there. I'm like, and I was holding a couple of expensive
Oh no.
a couple of pieces that I'm trying to get to this other facility or this other star
Oh my
base.
god. This
So,
poor guy.
and I refuse to do the whatever solo mode. I feel like that takes away from the reality.
Yeah,
But,
it
in a
does.
realistic situation, you could absolutely just sleep it out at a hotel and
Yeah.
leave a couple days later.
Yeah, that's funny you brought that up. So I used to play only in solo mode because
Hmm.
of the gankers and all that, but you're right. It's so much of a better experience when you play in open. Like, yeah, you might have to deal with that kind of stuff every now and then, but for the most part, it's the entire galaxy.
Right.
Like I can't stress that enough. It's literally the Milky Way galaxy mapped
One for
inside of the
one.
game. So yeah, so it's hard press that you really run in. There's hubs that you go to where you're definitely gonna run into people. Like when the community goals are going, people definitely kind of hang out around there to try to make everyone else's day miserable.
Right.
But for the most part, you really don't run into that many. Like you might run into 1 or 2 people per station you go to. It's not often that you just happen to run into a convenient pirate out in the middle of nowhere. So yeah, I'm glad you got a ship upgrade though. So you upgraded to the Type 9, I think, or was it the
Type 6. Type 6
Type
is the
6?
one that I had. Type 6 transporter. I have like
Gotcha.
I did a little bit of upgrading to it, and I have 58 slots of storage
Uh,
on there
okay,
while
nice.
still maintaining the same top speed that I had in the Sidewinder. So I was pretty pleased that I could not be moving slower. That was my
Good.
big drawback for a minute. I didn't want to be
Oh
moving
yeah.
any slower.
Yeah, no, I understand. Hey, that's good, man. Definitely will have to continue playing. Hopefully, you can get some time in after finals and all that good stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Hope that we can get into this Odyssey stuff together. I want to see what this. I haven't done any multiplayer with Odyssey yet,
Hmm.
other than some of the scripted missions that me and a couple people went through. And I say scripted, but we grabbed a couple bounties off the
Right.
board, played those together. But it was before they added like the functionality for you to bring your own ship in, so everyone was taking their own taxis. Whereas now, I think if you have a ship, your buddy can probably walk right into it with you or
Yeah.
something. Hopefully,
Just join in
so
on your squad.
yeah, I'm hoping that's the case. So we'll see.
Multi-crew sessions.
And it would be so fun.
Yeah. So what you got what you got aimed for next week? Just more of this and more of that?
Yeah, just more of this and more of that. I feel like I think it was Days Gone. I knew I threw some stuff on my wish list recently here, but I really do think it was Days Gone. The next Humble Bundle should be out within the next week or so. I wonder what the free games will be for that this month. But other than that, man, just Elite and Flight Sim. For you guys watching live, I will be for I forgot what Elite's doing. They're doing something. We're having some type of event on Thursday that I'll be a part of.
This
So I'll
Thursday?
send the link. Yeah, it's this
Okay.
Thursday, 7 p.m. BTC, which I don't know what the hell that means. I'll put it in one of those time zone calculators later on. Yeah. Oh, yeah, guys. Sorry, I don't know what that is, but I'll put it in the time zone thing. But yeah, I'll tweet that out and put that on our Discord whenever I know that that's going to be on. It'll be a few dozen people, I'm guessing. I think it's some. I know it's Odyssey related. They were talking about something, but I don't. I shouldn't say that. They're not watching. But anyway, I forgot what the fucking event's about. But I will tweet it out. Okay.
No, you're just supposed to say that it's NDA. You're not allowed to talk about it.
Yeah, NDA.
Can't say
Don't
anything.
know a damn thing.
Oh man. So yeah, that's I mean, next week for me is probably going to be pretty much studying and taking in these one or two quick rounds of games like Rain on Your Parade or Move Out. I do think that I will be picking up It Takes Two because it's gotten great reviews. My wife really wants to play it. Some of our favorite streamers are already starting to play it that we haven't really watched, but they seem to enjoy it because they're still playing it. So we might get into that next week as well.
Okay.
Which I didn't know,
Hmm.
but it is a required co-op. There's no solo, which kind of makes that friend pass thing that we had talked about a little bit more meaningful because they could easily done it's a 2-player only game, co-op only, and
Yeah.
you have to buy 2 copies of it. Good luck. That could have been a very EA type move, but they didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. This game director, he kind of I showed that clip with you guys earlier. You probably remember from the Game Awards, but
Oh yeah,
he
he's
infamously
nuts.
did the game A Way Out, which was the same premise of requires co-op player
Mm-hmm.
and also has the front pass. And he actually said in that speech too, like he didn't say he had to beg them, but he basically was like, "This is only here because." So that was one of the EA initiatives a while back was that they wanted to bring more indie developers in, and that
Mm-hmm.
was kind of so they had that game. Unraveled was one of them. This is another. This is like the third one I could think of. There's a few other examples out there, but
Right.
those are the big three that I could think of that got pretty popular. So, yeah, let me know how that one is. I don't currently have a co-op gaming buddy that likes to co-op game. Unfortunately,
I'll co-op
so
in game with you.
oh, thank you. Yeah, so let me know how that one is. It looked a little too cutesy for me, but I'm
I think
interested to hear about it.
I think the cutesy is like a very thinly veiled cover over like a very dark reality that's happening in the background in this child's life. That's the vibe I get from just the commercials. Like I think you're seeing this through the eyes of a kid, but there's like a really real thing happening to her parents.
Gotcha. Well, hey,
So
I'll
it'll be
I'll be more than
interesting.
happy to hear about it.
Let's see. All right. So we're done with the news. We're done with the radars. We're done with what we played. So now that means it's time for video game 20 questions. And this week, it is Steve's turn. And as we can see up here, Steve did win last week with 9 questions remaining. So he knocked it out of the park. So I'm going to reset this
Thank
real
you.
quick. See if it will go. It doesn't seem to want to now. There we go. Knock it back up to 20. All right. Ready whenever you are.
All righty. So, at him, while this game is mostly seen as a cult classic, many media outlets hold it in high regards and consider it to be the first game in its genre. This game is not exclusive to any one console, but has been exclusive to a single platform for over 20 years. It has spawned a sequel, a spin off title, and two short lived anime series.
Anime or animated?
Anime is what it specifically
Anime.
says.
Okay. That doesn't count as one of my questions. I was just making sure what word you had said.
5 questions left.
5 questions left. All right. Cult, man. So cult classic 20 years, and it's been, so if it's been 20 years locked into a single system, is it a PC title?
It is not.
Oh, not a PC. Oh, let me mark down. Not a PC title. Is it?
Let me clarify that just so it's clear for you.
Yeah, yeah.
So when I say platform, I mean PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo.
Okay.
Like, yeah, just sorry. So if that wasn't clear, I can take that question back for you.
No, because I mean, PC would still be considered its own platform.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
got that part.
So is it Sony locked? Is it Sony platform? It's a Sony title. Okay, so
That it is.
cult classic, Sony title, had a sequel, had two animes. Um, is the most recent game on the PS4?
Research.
Research.
2 seconds. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Yes.
Okay. And if it's a cult classic, is
Let me say that you said the most recent game, but to be fair, sometimes the most recent game is not a new game.
right, right. Is the original game on the PS2?
No.
No. But it's a cult classic. Okay, so is the original title on a PS1?
Yes.
Okay, so it's a PS1 game. Sony exclusive. It can't be a Square Enix game. Because they've been with everybody now. Most of their titles are on everything. Well, I don't know. Cult classics don't usually get remakes. So PS1 had two spin-offs. Even has an anime. Is the word Chrono in the title?
No.
No, so it's not Chrono Trigger or Chrono Cross, whichever one was on the PlayStation. Um Oh, which makes sense. Okay, never mind. That was a dumb question to ask. Because I had already answered it in three other different ways that it couldn't have been on there. So let's see. Man. A is it an IP? Like a licensed IP?
No.
No. Okay. Is the developer well known? Let me restate that. That's not a fair question. I apologize. Is the developer known for making AAA titles?
Not at all.
Not even close. Okay. Cult classic. Trying to think. It had two anime.
Yeah, and you probably would have not even known that this title had an anime. It was not popular. Hence why they were both short lived.
But the game was a cult classic. Okay.
Yeah, the game, like game's a cult classic. It is absolutely PlayStation. Like I mean reading this over, it doesn't say that it was a failure, but it said it was like the seventh best selling game in Japan. Really no reference to
Oh, okay.
how it did in US. But you know it, I know it. Anybody who was a PlayStation kid knew of this game.
Knew of this game. It's not Parappa the Rapper, is it?
It is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Is
Look
it
at you.
really?
It is
Wh-
12 questions.
I had
11.
I had no idea that Parappa. There's no way that that's the actual game though.
That is
Parappa
the
the
game.
Rapper. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It follows through. What you so you said it had two spin-off games,
So it had one spinoff and
one spin-off.
one sequel, two short-lived anime series. The sequel was Parappa the Rapper 2 for PlayStation 2.
Right.
The spinoff was Unjammer Lammy, which was that was she a rabbit or a kangaroo or something playing a guitar?
I
Forgot what.
think she may have been a rabbit.
Let's see. Oh, she's a cat.
Oh,
I
it's.
think.
I mean, when you're dealing with 16 polygons, it's a little hard to tell.
Yeah, so that was a Unjammer Lammy, and then the PlayStation 4 release was a remaster of the original game for PlayStation 4. And then the anime series, one was between April 2001 and January of 2002. And then the second one was in October of 2016, and that was all they said. So I don't know if
We'll
it
see.
lasted 1 month.
Now I need to go look up this terrible anime now.
Yeah,
That's crazy. So I literally only threw Parappa Rapper out there just to mark it off the list, not because it was a legitimate guess. Because as soon as
yeah,
you said
like
anime, I was like, okay, it's got to be one of the like Legends of Legaia or Legends of Dragoon or something like that,
yeah,
some type of JRPG. But no, it
yeah.
was crazy.
I had no idea it had a TV series at all. What was I gonna say? This one, so the other thing was what I said. A lot of critics actually, it had really positive reviews, and a lot
Hmm.
of people were like, they say this was the first rhythm game ever.
I believe it.
Because yeah, so I tried to think in my mind of anything else, but I can't think of like I was like, no, I was like, what about like Tetris? But Tetris isn't really rhythm.
Yeah,
It's a puzzle game.
right.
So yeah, so hey, good for them. Without Parappa the Rapper, we would have never had Rock Band, any of those other games.
Rock
So
Band,
kudos to them.
DDR, it's the predecessor. This was one of those games that came on that Pizza Hut demo disc that I talked about earlier. So
Oh my god.
it was like
Yeah.
this, Lara Croft, Tomb Raider, and like Armored Core, like the first Armored Core
Yeah.
game.
Yeah,
Which
I don't
God, I'd
remember
I'd
how I
love an Armored Core VR game. That'd be great.
oh, me too, man. That's why I want Titanfall VR so bad. I'm like,
Yeah.
it is perfect for it. The only thing that might suck is the on foot stuff, but if you let people just let us be in the Titans,
Yeah.
whatever. There's a
Titan
cool
only
idea
mode.
there too.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Oh, you want me? Oh, sure. So Eve Online had this crazy idea once before. They were like, they wanted to do a separate game that would have
Mm.
been on the PlayStation,
Mm-hmm.
and you would have been impacting players on the PC.
Right.
And that would be something cool for like this, like maybe you have, console players are playing on the console. Like that would kind of suck. They would still need to be able to play in the mechs, but maybe VR players only play in the mechs. Maybe they have like some can't, some overlord commander mode or something.
Yeah.
There's so much to do with that franchise, unfortunately. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know
think
what
that
they're
was called
reflecting.
like Eve 314 or something. Dr. Pretender and Chat and I were really all about that for a minute. And I don't know if it actually ever came out or not because they were really trying to push the PS3 hardware because I don't think it was ever
Yeah.
talked about coming to the Xbox. I think it was pretty
Dust
much a
514.
Dust 514. I knew there was some random number
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah.
Dust 514. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be pretty awesome if
Yeah.
there was a
That one looked
a
cool.
console counterpart of just the multiplayer aspect, like the not the
Yeah.
multiplayer, the combat multiplayer aspect of it.
I just want Titanfall VR bad, man. Like it is so made for VR. It's right there. Like do it. It is so
Yeah.
it sells so well. It would sell so well. Also Eve has I know you're Archie's VR player too. Eve does have a Eve Valkyrie
Mm-hmm.
is the game mode. It sucks though. Like
Yeah.
it used to be cool when there was actually a lot of players, but so hard to find players.
It's hard to find players because it has such a high gate of entry, really. I mean, it's not a game that you can just walk into one day and go, "Oh, I feel like I'm, at even level with most people here." Like
Excuse me.
you got to spend a lot of real world time and arguably a lot of real world money in order to get yourself situated properly in Eve Online nowadays.
Time and money.
All right. That was a good
Hey,
episode,
well,
Steve.
actually, I've got some breaking news.
Oh,
Beep
cool.
beep 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 beep
Beep
beep
beep
beep beep
beep
beep
beep
beep.
beep 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 beep.
Just regarding Elite, just in case we do have any people fans of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I am looking over. This was actually posted a little bit earlier today. So they are going to be doing. They obviously gave us a launch date announcement, May 19th, but also they are rolling out Phase 4 of the Odyssey Alpha on this Wednesday, the 28th. That is going to start with a snapshot being taken of your current main player, so
Mm-hmm.
your Elite Dangerous Commander profile. That's going to be taken so that they can bring your main game character over to the alpha. The
Oh,
snapshot
nice.
will include, yeah, so you're going to have to hop in. The snapshot will be taken at 8 a.m. UTC time, April 23rd. So that actually already happened. I don't know. Someone probably put a typo in this. But anyway, the
Breaking
snapshot is going to
news.
include, yeah, because it says this Wednesday, but then it also says tomorrow. So someone left. I think they copied and pasted something
Yeah.
from a prior note. But anyway, it says the snapshot is going to include your commander and the ship that you're piloting at the time the snapshot is taken. None of your other ships will accompany you over to the alpha, so make sure that you're already in the ship that you want to bring over, folks. Your credits will transfer over as part of your snapshot. If you are in a SRV at the time the snapshot is taken out, you will be taken out of the SRV and put back into the ship tied to the SRV. If you are a fleet carrier, or fleet carriers that commanders currently own will not be transferred over to the alpha. Blah 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 blah. They're going to make the ability for you to purchase them, which means nobody will be able to because you won't have the money to.
Right.
And yeah,
So those are
the
like
servers will
9
be
billion credits or something, aren't they? Like something
yeah.
astronomical.
They're crazy expensive, and then also the maintenance on them is pretty damn
Mm-hmm.
expensive. Like you really only want one if you have a full team that's going to be using it, and
Right.
there's a kind of economy that goes with that. You make a percent of the sales sold. So if you got a big org, then it's self sustaining. But if you don't, you're just flying it around for fun. So yeah, that's all the
That
news,
would be
guys. I
me.
hope.
Just flying it around for fun.
Yep. Wednesday the 28th, they will also put up full patch notes for the phase. So let's look forward to all this.
when
That's my
when are they
breaking
going to put
news.
up the patch notes?
On the same day the patch goes up.
Oh, cool. So the 28th. Gotcha.
Yep. So Wednesday. Appreciate you guys
Yep.
stopping by the podcast today.
Yep. Thank you all. If you're watching this later on YouTube, thank you as well. Appreciate you. Throw a like, comment, subscribe. If you're on Twitch right now with us, go ahead and throw us a follow. It's free. Go ahead. You know you want to. All right. That's all we got today. Thank you so much, everybody. Peace.
Adios.